And what's up? My name's Ronder, and I'm here to bring you the LSBA Season 3 Week 2 matchup between the Seattle Staraptors and the Florida Feraligatrs. After our Week 1 loss against Sean and the Tukwila Tentaquils, we're coming into this match really hoping that we're able to beat Rodney, coach of the Florida Feraligatrs this week, who, just like last week, is another out-of-division match, so it's not super important that we win. But at the same time, we'd love to get on the board and pick up a win here just to start the season off on not a super rocky start. So this week, just to run over my team, I'm bringing a pretty standard lead Aerodactyl. It's got Stealth Rocks, it's got Tailwind, it's got Taunt, and a Rock Slide to hopefully, I presumed that he would bring the Noivern, and there it is, so Aerodactyl's one of the few things on my team, or the only thing on my team actually, that's fast enough to take Noivern one-on-one, so there's that. I brought Vivian for the first time this week, who was running also Tailwind, but Quiver Dance, Electroweb, and Hurricane. Breloom, who's a pretty standard Life Orb Technician set. Roserade, who has offensive spikes, so Spikes, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and Dazzling Gleam to hit the Dragon types. I'm bringing Dylan the Pangoro this week for the first time as well, hoping to catch that Tailwind boost and outspeed and wreck some shop. And then finally is Excadrill, who this week is not actually carrying the Rapid Spin because Rodney doesn't really have that many hazard setters on his team, but instead is carrying Brick Break because I assumed that the Klefki would show up and try and set up screens in my face, which it didn't. Looking at his team, this week he brought the Politoed Mega Swampert duo, which is really scary because obviously Mega Swampert likes to use Swift Swim and Politoed can set that rain up for it. He's got Kyurem B and Noivern, again, his two dragons that he likes to bring most of the time. He brought, presumably, speed-boosting Sharpedo, and he brought Thundurus. And so, all in all, he brought more Grass Week stuff than I thought he would, with both Politoed and Mega Swampert. And Sharpedo, actually, so that's good. Breloom looks like it's going to do a lot of work here. I was really surprised that he didn't bring the Klefki, but it makes sense since he didn't bring the Politoed and Swampert last week in lieu of the Klefki and Suicune, I believe. So it makes sense that he dropped those two off to bring the Politoed and Swampert instead. All in all, this team looks about like what I was expecting, so let's go ahead and start the battle. Okay, so our obvious lead here is Aerodactyl, as discussed. I'm going to try and get my rocks up and Tailwind if possible, but what I didn't expect was Thundurus on his side, and since Thundurus is kind of a threat, I decided just to go straight for the kill with Rock Slide. But he moves faster than me, confirming that he's a Choice Scarf Thundurus, which was kind of surprising. So luckily it doesn't KO Aerodactyl, and I'm able to one-shot it back with my Rock Slide, but that's really unfortunate. I don't think the crit mattered. It was a damage roll to Oko, but I think it was fine. He throws in Politoed, which I, at this point, wasn't sure if I thought that it was going to be Choice Scarfed or not, so I'm going to just stay in and try and set up my rocks. But it turns out that this is also Choice Scarf, so he goes ahead and scalds my Aerodactyl to take it out. Lots of quick KO action right off the bat. Here I'm going to throw in my Roserade, because now that I know that he's choice locked into Scald, I know that he can't really do anything. And I'm going to go ahead and fire off a Dazzling Gleam here, expecting him to go into Noivern actually, but you know, going into Kyurem is fine for me too, because it's also a Dragon type, and it's the other thing that I was hoping to hit with Dazzling Gleam. Unfortunately here, he's going to be faster than my Roserade, and I don't want to lose it right off the bat, so I decided to go into my Excadrill, who can eat up most any hit that Kyurem could probably throw out, and threaten it out in return. So we're going to eat up that Dragon Claw relatively well. We're going to find out that this is a Life Orb variant, and he's just going to go for the Dragon Claw again, which unfortunately takes me out. So, sorry Excadrill, but you were our least valuable player since Klefki didn't show up anyways. So now to pick this off, I'm going to throw in my Breloom and just kill it with a Mach Punch. That's even if he switched out, anything on his team would have taken pretty good damage from Mach Punch, so it was a pretty safe play. Now the rain goes down because he's not Damp Rock, Now he's going to throw in the Noivern, which is obviously really scary. Breloom can't stand up to Noivern at all, so I'm going to have to switch out here. I end up going back into my Roserade because I had to decide to sack off either Roserade or Pangoro here. But I felt that if I could get a Tailwind up with my Vivillon, that Pangoro had the potential to maybe do more work here. So I throw in my Vivillon here. It's Focus Slash, so it's not going to take the Flamethrower per se, but it's not going to die either, so that's great. I'm going to use Sleep Powder to put the Noivern to sleep, so now Vivillon has a few turns to get set up and try and do its thing. Noivern stays asleep this turn, which is great, so I'm going to use Electro Web here actually, instead of going straight for the Tailwind, just so that Vivillon can become faster than the Noivern now. So on the following turn, just in case he wakes up, I set up the Tailwind, but it turns out that he actually stays asleep, which is great. So now I'm just going to go for a clean Hurricane. That's Vivillon, set up the Tailwind, so I'm definitely faster than everything on his team now. I'm just going to try and but take this Noivern out. Luckily it stays asleep again, so Vivillon's going to be able to go ahead and just Hurricane it one more time and take it out. Kill number 1 for Vivillon, yay! Go better for go! Yeah, so I'm still faster because of Tailwind, so I'm able to put the Politoed to sleep, luckily. This is important later, so it takes 1 turn of sleep here. And so I decide just to set up Tailwind again this turn. He switches out into a Sharpedo, and because we have Sleep Claws, I can't just put the Sharpedo to sleep as well. And so, after setting up a Tailwind, I decided to switch out into Pangoro to hopefully take advantage of this Tailwind. I really thought that he was going to Protect here, is why I switched out now instead of the next turn. But instead he goes just straight for an attack, so could have probably Electro-Webbed it, or Hurricaned it either way, and done a lot of damage to the Sharpedo. But instead he just goes for it. Now, I'm still faster due to Tailwind, because he's only at +1 speed while I'm at +2. But he goes for the Protect this turn, which is really unfortunate, because now Pangoro is going to get blocked, the Sharpedo is really fast now, and now it's going to be able to outspeed us and hit us with a rain-boosted Waterfall, which is sadly going to take Dylan the Pangoro out without having done any work. Maybe next time, Dylan. At this point, it's an easy decision, though, for me to go back into Breloom here, because again, just like earlier, I can either do a massive chunk of damage to this thing, or kill it, or anything that comes in would take a lot too. So he's gonna go ahead and just stack off the Sharpedo here, which is perfectly fine by me. But now we come down to the very last steps of the battle. So his Politoed's already had 1 turn of sleep, and Pokemon can have a max of 3 turns. And at this point he has a full HP Mega Swampert in the back, and the only way that Breloom can take out a Mega Swampert in the rain when it's faster is with a +4 Mach Punch. So I go for the first Swords Dance here, and on the next turn I have to go for another one, otherwise I won't be able to take the Swampert out. But unfortunately the Politoed wakes up on the last potential turn and takes me out, resulting in a oh, I still have Vivillon with 1 HP, but this Politoed is Scarfed, so it's going to be able to take this out. So, resulting in a 2-0 win for the Feraligatrs. So, all in all, I just feel way better about how I played this week, even though I still ended up losing. It was a much closer loss than last week, a 2-0 instead of a 4-0, and I also just felt as though I played a lot better this week as well. Last week with the Garchomp Scarf scenario, that was just a really bad mess up, and I don't feel as though I made any huge mistakes this week. It was more so I just didn't consider the possibility that Rodney would be running those 2 particular Choice Scarf Pokemon this week. I figured that he would just rely on the speed of Noivern or the speed of Mega Swampert alone to be able to outspeed my relatively slow team, but he showed me by bringing 2 Scarfers on 2, well, Thundurus is pretty fast, but Politoed is typically slow. But by scarfing those 2 Pokemon and having an overall really fast team, he was able to just outpace me and put a lot of pressure on throughout the match. Really though, it was a really great game, and congratulations on your second win, Rodney. You have a super difficult division, so you can use all the wins you can get, I suppose. But yeah, so look forward to my next battle, Week 3, against the Everett Tropius and Coach Matt, which will be pretty exciting because he's been recording and posting his battles to YouTube as well. There's an unfortunate circumstance regarding this battle since it already happened where we had an early game DC, so I'll talk through the specifics about that when I get to that video, but just know that we were able to resolve it okay, and we have a showdown replay to show you, so yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!